Do it, Casey.
Okay, I will.
Do it.
Sure.
Do it.
Mixed martial arts.
Oh.
Mixed martial arts. How
Okay.
do we like our martial arts? We like them mixed!
Damn, that was incredible. Thank you, E. Casey Leydon, for getting us started. As always, bringing the heat, bring the straight heat. This is the voice of your host for today's UFC Vegas 76 preview show, Alexander K. What is up, everybody? Say hello to my plant friends as well, bringing extra life to this program. I am blessed to be joined by two wonderful co-hosts. One, Mr. Jed Meshew. One, Mr. José Youngs. Live long and prosper, indeed. And in the truck, as I just mentioned, of course, the esteemed E. Casey Leydon. Well, guys, we've got another UFC card this week. I don't know if you heard about it. It is our... How many weeks straight are we in now, Jose? Do you know how many weeks straight is this of UFC events off the top of your head? Where this is like 8, right?
8 in a row? Because there was nothing on Memorial Day.
No.
Maybe more?
No, this is 5. This is 5.
4 or 5.
There was no... Oh, okay.
It's
there was
just
no...
June. We had the
Right.
end of May off.
And
Yeah,
now
it's
we're on
June.
Memorial Day. Right. Soon
Now
we'll
it's
be
a run until,
we're
like-
unbroken.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this
Okay.
current run lasts until like.
Oh, so
October.
people aren't UFC fatigued at all. Then I was going to start off with this whole spiel about like, oh, people are fatigued with the fight nights and the Apex events, but you're right. We had that day off, some weeks ago, and everyone is rearing to go with a 12 fight card that we have starting night at the UFC Apex, headlined by a middleweight bout that's like not insignificant between UFC Apex headlining veteran Sean Strickland. This is 5th UFC Apex main event, and someone only making his sophomore UFC debut, but getting his first official main event. Abasupian Magomedov. We'll go with Abus for the purposes of this show. I've seen, again, listen, anyone who's watched any of our recent preview shows, there's been this kind of tone we've had of like, oh, great, another card. How are we going to rate this one? We're oversaturated, listen, I'm starting off with more of that, but I don't really want to ask to grade the card as a whole. I don't feel like I need to give a gymnastics rating. It's a card.
Hey,
card,
give
guys,
the people what they want. The people tuned in for a gymnastics rating.
I'm
You're
avoiding
gonna
it
deny
because
them?
I think I said this last week, is I don't know whether I have to recalibrate or if I have to stick with the number. The good thing is I'm sure no one remembers what I gave some of the recent cards, so I can really say whatever I want. But I'll go to you guys first while I tabulate the math in my head. Jose, as a young man who does a lot of traveling, who's usually on site for us at a lot of these events, what is the vibe in the José Youngs household when you have to buckle up for one of these Apex cards just from home?
I don't really pay so much attention to the main event. I mean, the main event is obviously what draws the audience in. If there is a high-level main event, then it just kind of adds to the intrigue, and that's only because I get to see high-level fighters fight for 2 extra rounds. I tend to look at the entire card top to bottom, and if there's 1 or 2 fighters that I'm interested in, I'll be semi-excited. If they happen to be fighting each other, I'll be even more excited. There's some very fun names on this card, fights that, like, as you like, people that tune into these shows know, I like the martial arts and mixed martial arts. I don't really care for any of the outside noise. I just kind of like what happens inside the octagon. So in terms of that, there's a lot of fun names. The co-main event, obviously, we're going to get into, is very intriguing to me. And then there's a lot of names that stand out on the prelim cards, much more than the main card, outside of the top 2 fights. I would probably switch a few of these fight cards around, this lineup around, but I'm also on record saying I don't particularly care what the rankings are because the channel doesn't change. You're going from ESPN Plus to ESPN Plus, so it just feels like one big card rather than main card and prelims. This would be different if it was an ABC card or a pay-per-view or whatever. I know people on the site and various other sites and on Twitter like to complain. I don't really have a lot to complain about the order of these things. It's fine. There's a lot of intriguing matchups and names on the undercard, though.
Yeah, as much a great point. As much as any card in recent memory, I feel like you could shuffle this card and put it in almost any order because
Mhm.
a lot of people have been surprised with Romanov and Ivanov being the first scheduled fight on the prelims. Like that could that could be a co-main event. I know that sounds crazy, but the UFC loves to put heavyweights on high placements on cards. If that was the co-main event, I mean, no one would bat an eye. We'd make fun of it as much as any other heavyweight co-main event. You could put, it's a little surprising, like Yana Santos and Carol Hossa, both ranked bantamweights fighting in a featherweight fight, but they could have been on the main card. You could have put, it's certainly very malleable. There's also one thing is weird, not weird, but kind of cool. It's a very internationally flavored card. I don't know how else to put it. We've got someone from, I'm just running down here. Moldova, we've got Bulgaria, we've got Croatia. I think Ivana Petrovic from Croatia, Georgia, Russia. I've got a couple of Russians. France is in the building, of course. Brazil, Colombia, Michael Morales, Ecuador, excuse me, and Kazakhstan, and then Abbas Magomedov is Russian fighting out of Germany. It's a very international card. I throw it out there, of course, because I know that's going to affect Jed's rating. Knowing that, do you view this card in a more positive, more compelling light, knowing about all this international representation that we have here?
It does look like we have about 12 different countries represented on this card.
Yeah. Take that, Don Davis.
Which, I mean, is this card 80% Asian?
It's not quite enough, no.
I'm unclear. I'll defer to others for that sort of technical breakdown. I don't have the numbers in front of me. This card is whatever. It's fight card. If you have nothing else to do on Saturday, sure, why not? You could. I mean, I guess the Tour de France will probably mostly be done that stage by the time this kicks off. So you can go right into this. Watching the tour into. This is a big no on the Tour de France.
I don't understand. And this is just a blanket observation. And I know I'm in the minority. I don't understand the fascination with dumb sports on MMAfighting.com. I don't. Golf, Tour de France, darts.
Wow. You're calling cycling a dumb sport. A lot of people are going to be mad at you about that one.
But popularity and dumbness don't coincide. A lot of people think baseball is dumb, and that's still semi-popular. I just think they're silly sports. But that's just me. If you like it, I'm not going to say don't like it, but I don't quite understand the appeal. If you want to watch Tour de France, I hope you love it. I just will not.
Dude, I'm so going to regret this. What is a silly sport?
The Pogacar. Our big guard is that rivalry is sick. You gotta watch it, man.
Say that word. Say those words again in a row.
Pogacar, who's one of the two cyclists who's favored, but I think that's how you pronounce it. I won't pretend to be a huge guy, but I did watch the Netflix series, so I'm geared up now. I'm ready for it.
I will respectfully decline watching the Tour de France. It's just they go. And then they don't stop until they reach a line. And then those are the highlights.
Not big on the F1 either. Not big on the car.
That's every race that's ever happened in history.
Correct. I've also never watched. I've never chosen to watch a race, in any avenue.
Love racing. Racing is just so easy. I wouldn't probably choose to watch this fight to get us back on topic. If you got nothing else to do, it's fine. I think the co-main event's sick, right? I love Demir Ismagulov versus Grant Dawson. It's an insane fight. Probably should be the main event, but it's not a huge deal. The main event can only be cool if Abe Magomedov wins, and otherwise it's just going to be Sean Strickland, so whatever. There's enough here that these staunch UFC defenders that are out there who get mad at us when we rightfully say, this card's pretty mid, can point this and be like, that's bullshit. Look, there's two ranked fighters opening up the whole card and another two ranked fighters fighting, and the co-main event's really cool. I'll say the same thing I've been saying for years. If you like it, please enjoy. I don't want to yuck your yum. But if part of you can look at this and just be realistic and know that it's okay to want more for yourself as an MMA fan. It is okay to say, Not the best thing I've ever seen. Still better than anything else I got going on Saturday night, but I wish that the world's premier promotion in this sport would try a little harder to make me more excited about Saturdays instead of, well, I'll be killing time with some beers and some burgers and brats or whatever and watching Abe Magomedov and Sean Strickland fight. Woohoo. Dare to dream, people. Dare to dream.
With that said, I think I have determined my gymnastics rating. Again, I think there's enough here. Like you said, kind of what you just said, Jed. That it's defendable if you are so inclined to do so. If you're a hardcore UFC fan that's inclined to do so. I'm not. I don't want to speak from that perspective, but again, I am the Prince of Positivity. I do like to suggest that these cards have more to offer than they may at first seem to have at first sight. Excuse me. So I'm still staying above 8. I'm not willing to go below, and you know that. And Jed, before you say anything, I am being consistent because if I gave that, what was that card before? Vittori Cannonier. If I gave that card like I think an 8.4, then I have to. I think this card might be around the same. I'm going to my match. I'm going to stick with my magic 8.4. I'm going to do it because we are going to dive into some of the deeper cuts. Earlier, when I said this was a card where it feels like the lineup could be, put in any order, I kind of meant that as a compliment, not as in like, oh, every fight is so instinctual. I mean, I meant like, some of these cards are strong enough to be quote unquote
that's
main
a compliment?
card. But I do. I mean it as a compliment. It certainly could be used otherwise. The other thing I'll say is for cards like this, all you can really hope for is like, a bunch of finishes. For ours, hopefully some sort of controversy so we can, talk about it after. But on the finish side of it, I think there's 12 fights.
Oh,
I think this would be a high finish card.
yeah.
I think you could get like 8 out of 12. Yeah. 8 out of 12. And that finishes do not determine what is and isn't a good card. Let's be clear. You can have fight cards with a lot of decisions that are friggin' amazing. You're going to have fights with a lot of cards with a lot of finishes that are not great. But when you have a card like this, which is like you're kind of just tuning in because maybe there's nothing else to do, you probably want to see a bunch of finishes. You want to see some people just get smoked, and I think that could happen a lot. So I'll frame it that way for people until there could be some highlights at least. The main event. Okay, well we got to dive into this a little bit.
The main event is the problem though, AK. Because the main event probably not going to be a finish.
You could get a big finish from Abus.
Let's go, Abe.
Abus Magomedov, 19-second finish in his UFC debut against Dustin Stoltzfus, not quite on the level of Sean Strickland. Fine. 20 of his 25 wins are by knockout or submission, so there's something there. Again, you can say, well, how many of those are against super high level competition? You'd have to do a deep dive into the resume. I certainly won't go as far as say that he's been knocking out elite fighters left and right. But hey, listen, he's got some nose for a finish. I think it's very possible people get they want, or they get, or he gets Strickland, which is almost is getting Strickland like the male version of getting Chukagian.
Oh yeah, almost exactly the same thing.
Almost, maybe worse. Maybe it might even feel worse. I'll go. Let's get right to it then, guys. Let's get right to it. I don't really care to discuss the stakes of the fight. I think we've said this with a bunch of middleweight fights recently, where it's like Izzy needs a opponent, such and such person if they win. But if you want to add that in, go ahead. But Jose, I'll go to you first. How do you see this playing out? Who do you like to win it?
I think Strickland's going to Strickland. And I honestly think he's fighting for the possibility of being the third, fourth option to fight Israel in September, because as we said, that's a quick turnaround for DDP or Robert Whittaker. And I would imagine Israel does not want to wait. And if Sean Strickland is next man up, he's next man up. There's some sort of history there. They can play that press conference clips over and over and over. Israel has brought up his name in the past. So I assume if Strickland wins, he's at least a dark horse candidate to possibly get that title shot. Whether that happens or not, we'll find out in a week. We'll see how DDP and Robert Whittaker turn out. But I think Strickland is against Strickland. I think he's fought in much better competition. He's beaten much better competition. I think if you look at Abus's resume, I think the highest level guy he's fought in the last few years has probably been Lewis Taylor, who, former PFL champion. I think was he the inaugural one? AK, I know you're a PFL guy. Like for that division.
He was what
Yes.
the
middleweight
champion,
one.
right? Or was they don't
Yeah,
have
and then
anyone?
he did
Yeah.
and then
But
he didn't compete in season 2. He didn't get cleared.
he won the championship by beating Abus.
Yes, that's correct. So I feel
that
like
was the title
Right.
fight.
but that was 4 or 5 years ago, and he hasn't been especially active since then.
Mm-hmm.
Sean Strickland is the opposite. That dude has fought in a lot of top 10 middleweights, beaten a lot of them, and has been very active. So I just think Strickland. He's going to punch a lot. He's going to jab a lot, and I don't see a finish. I just think we're going to get like a 49-46 Sean Strickland.
I think that's a strong assessment again, because if you, a lot of people are asking, I think, like, what does this fight do for Strickland? And I think if you're him, you do see it as pretty winnable. And again, it's something that just keeps him in line to possibly, jump into a title shot if Izzy needs an opponent. So that seems to be the strong consensus there, is that we're getting decision. But I don't know, Jed, if you're going another direction with it.
No, I think it probably is going to happen that way. But if there's going to be a finish, it's probably going to be Abe doing something woolly and weird, because that's kind of what he does. But he's also historically sort of lost in big moments inexplicably. Like, Lewis Taylor's the best guy he's fought, but that was such a weird knockout, right? Like, it sort of just came out of nowhere and almost didn't even look like it landed. He has a knack for slipping on banana peels. And so maybe he can slip on a banana peel in a way that Sean Strickland actually gets a finish, but it's probably just going to be, Sean Strickland doing the thing. And that's honestly one of the big deficits of the card, because, like it or not, we remember fight cards based on how they end. The main event has such an outsized weight on what the card is looked back on. And Sean Strickland just does not deliver things that are going to be good in that regard, unless he's fighting Alex Pereira. That could have been a main event, and we would have left just tickled because it was incredible. But I think the overwhelmingly likelihood it's not good. Not good signs, Bob.
Yeah, I get it. The looming threat of a Strickland decision win does cast a shadow on this card. I can't argue against it. Jose mentioned that the quality of competition thing is so notable and so relevant. It's something my best friend Mike Heck kind of harps upon all the time. It's kind of what he defaults to when there's a matchup that seems somewhat close on paper, and the odds are close, I should say. I believe Sean Strickland's slight favorite. I'm looking just at Topology, minus
170, I think.
Minus 70 when I check DraftKings. Yeah, Abus was plus 135, so only a slight underdog. People are giving him a chance. Topology, a little more definitive, 74% Strickland. And I usually, I think, as producer Casey always notes, Topology, I think, is a little more hardcore, a little more refined, a little more knowledgeable. So that may be a more accurate reflection of what kind of chance people are giving Abus Magomedov to pull off this upset. Because, he hasn't been active. This is true. Again, Dustin Stoltzfus, not saying he's a bad fighter, but not a big name in the UFC. So beating him doesn't show a lot of where Abus is, like, at this stage of his career. I'm looking at just like 2 fights ago. This is a long time back in 2019, though. You guys said he has been active. He was 22-4-1 when he fought an 0-0 fighter. So I don't know what the opposite of iron sharpens iron, but that can't be good for you. A knockout
in his defense, he did run through Slavica Sanumovic. That's what you should do against an 0-0
Yes,
fighter.
he took care of business. Okay, he took care of business. But I mentioned the 20 finishes before. I'd have to go back and see, like, how many of those guys did he finish that were like 1-1, and
It's actually not that many, but it's still not great.
It's hard not to picture Strickland, who is again, regardless of what you think of the man personally, I'm certainly not a fan. Just outworking him for 5 rounds. He's a good fighter. Sean Strickland's a good fighter, and he's beaten, at least I think, tougher guys than Abus Magomedov. So we'll see. I'm a little surprised Abus actually isn't a bigger underdog. I guess that finishing power does dazzle the odds makers. I thought Strickland would at least be 2-1. Normally, guys, listen, people normally know who watch this program that sometimes we disagree just for the sake of conversation. Kind of hard to go against Strickland here. So we're unanimous, Strickland by decision. You guys said you're excited about the co-main. 2 guys who I would certainly call lightweight contenders. I don't think ranked in the MMA Fighting Global rankings, but both received votes. Both had been ranked at some point. I mean, Grant Dawson is. And Grant Dawson is number 12. I apologize to Mr. Grant
Say.
Dawson.
Grant Dawson's
Yes, I
definitely
apologize.
ranked.
And Demir was in there before. I think he took his first UFC loss. He was in there. So, Jed, how much are you liking this fight? Where does a win put either guy in the lightweight rankings? Obviously, Dawson would keep his number. Can it push him into the top 10? Will Demir jump back in? Is that all it takes is by beating Dawson? Or would, if Demir wins, does it just kind of drop Dawson out? What do you think? What's your looking ahead a little bit here?
I love this fight. My questions about this fight are entirely about Demir, right? I think a win for either guy could be huge if Demir is going to hang around. It seems like he kind of is with some statements he made about Justin Gaethje, but after he lost to Arman, Demir retired and then was like, actually, I guess I have one fight left at the UFC. I'll just fight it out. And I don't really know where his head's at, where if he is committed to kind of still pursuing this or if this is just I'll stick around for a little bit. So a win for him should be monumental, right? I mean, Dawson's ranked in our rankings. I'm pretty sure he's ranked in the UFC's rankings. Should be a very high quality win. And if your only real loss is to Arman Tsarukyan, a guy who is calling for a title shot, who won't get one, but like we all know what Arman is in this division, right? Like it's pretty damn good for Demir. On the other side, this is really Grant Dawson's opportunity, right? Like, I mean, he's had other Marco Madsen is an Olympian, right? So that should be a good win, but it doesn't resonate in the same way as this guy who is actively ranked in the UFC rankings right now in our rankings. Just widely well respected as a lightweight. I've been very big on Grant Dawson. I love his potential. I think he has a good chance to win this fight. And if he does, I think this is the win that gets him into the bigger conversations, into the top 10 of the division kind of fights conversations. It's really tough at lightweight, got some squatters near the top, and it is just an impossible like row to hoe to just work your way through this division. But I do think a win here for Grant Dawson firmly puts him in the, hey, Jalen Turner, Rafael Fiziev, or any of those sort of guys in the top 10, you're going to have to fight him. We've got to give him a chance to start making his way up the rankings. So I think the biggest stakes is this fight, and the best fight of the weekend is this fight.
Yeah, again, we have Ismagulov at 12. Grant Dawson, I believe, is a fighter also receiving vote. A Favre. In the UFC's official rankings, they actually have Demir Ismagulov at 12, Grant Dawson at 15. So they have it flipped around. Jose, a similar question to you, but yes, kind of more focusing on the Grant Dawson part. Not because I don't think Demir can win, but if Grant Dawson were to win, this would be 12 straight undefeated. There's a draw in there with Ricky Glenn. 12 straight undefeated. Not all at lightweight. You know, there's been some issues with, you know, he started off as a featherweight, and now even at lightweight, he's had a bit of trouble making. No issue on Friday, but his fight before that with Mark Madsen, he did come in heavy again. How much do you think some of these gaffes are holding him back? Do you think the UFC does see him as someone that they want to push? I mean, this is a co-main event spot, but again, we've seen guys go from co-main event to preliminary opener like a Romanov. So what's your vibe on Dawson as far as being a contender?
Well, before I answer that, I have you guys both vote on MMA Fighting's rankings,
Correct.
Right? Like,
correct.
Why is Grant Dawson ranked so high compared to Demir as compared to the UFC rankings? Because Demir's only loss, if I'm mistaken, in the UFC is to Arman. And we all agree that Arman is possibly a future champion, future title contender. Is it just and before that, like, Thiago Moises is very good. Guram is very good. Rafael Alves is very good. Joel Alves at one point was viewed as one of the shining lightweight prospects. Why? And like Grant Dawson is beating like Mark Madsen, Jared Gordon, good wins, Leo Santos. I would like those wins seem comparable, but Arman is just a monster. Is it just a loss to Arman, or is it because is it the decisions? I'm genuinely interested.
I think that probably both of those are a thing, but for me specifically, it's that he said he was retiring, so I removed him.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a problem.
He was like, "Yeah, I'm done with fighting." So I was like, "I guess you're on." And I don't know where that's at now.
Like looking at,
I thought
like
RDA
is
Grom. That's why too.
RDA is ranked 15. He's not a lightweight anymore in our rankings. And then like looking at fighters who also received votes, like Tony Ferguson got a vote. Like Drew Dober got a vote. Joel Alvarez got a vote. Like
there are a couple of people. I don't have RDA ranked. I don't have any of the people you.
We don't want to go down this rabbit hole. Hold on. We don't. We don't
want
to.
I'm just. I brought it up because like I think like if Demir beat Arman, he's like top 7 in the world. And like that, he took Arman to a decision. If Demir beat Arman, Grant Dawson versus Demir is the main event. Like that one loss to Arman is essentially why this fight is not 5 rounds.
Yeah,
and he took him to a decision. Anyway, regardless, like that's neither here nor there. I'm always interested in why MMA fighting has people ranked.
Oh, for sure. So well, he'll be back definitely with a win. I think most of us will. I will say I'm just looking at the bottom of my ranking.
It should also be. I don't know.
Well, maybe if he wins and then retires again, I don't know what we're gonna do. But I should be noted also that the MMA fighting global rankings are also not just UFC. So he's also
That's
a couple of those spots are taken. Like at least for me, a couple of spots are taken by Usman or Magomedov and OAM. From PFL.
Well, I was just. I guess the only reason I asked is because Grant Dawson is like ranked above AJ McKee.
Yes,
and like I think AJ McKee might be a more talented lightweight than Grant Dawson, but like just questions I have regardless.
Resume.
Anyway,
it's a whole. Listen, we'll tell people there'll be a new episode.
Welcome to join the voting panel.
Pass.
Yeah, jump in.
No.
We'll have an episode. I believe the next episode of the Rankings podcast will be after the next pay-per-view, logically, unless I'm trying to think if there's something that could happen at this. No, that would prompt. Oh, wait a minute. There's a women's featherweight fight. Never mind. That'll. There we go. We're gonna have to do an emergency show
anyway
to cover that. But, I'm sorry.
Ask me the question.
That's what I consider
it. What was the original question?
If Grant Dawson wins, do you see him as someone that the UFC has started in their plans to push? I mean, based on him getting a co-main event, or do you think some of his weight issues and also, I don't know a lot about Grant Dawson, like personality-wise, despite him being so deep into his UFC career, which seems odd because I think he's done plenty of media. Anyway, do you see him as someone the UFC could get behind if he beats?
I mean, he's gonna be a guy that they push based on wins and losses, not because of personality. Like he has more wins in the UFC than Michael Chandler, but for Michael Chandler is ranked above him. Like he's going to be a guy like Jack Della Maddalena, who, you know, when you talk to him, he's interesting, but when you see him fight, that kind of gets you intrigued, and he's going to be a guy that gets pushed based on his wins. I know he's missed weight a few times, but like as I said, like if he wins, being 20-1, especially if he gets a finish, 20-1 with 17, 18 finishes is something you can't overlook. Lightweight is tough. There's a lot of guys, like Jed said, squatting at the top, but I think the winner of this, that fight between Dan Hooker and Jalen Turner, looks real interesting. If the winners of these two fights fight each other down the road in like maybe a fight night main event. Lightweight is just, you got to be a character or you got to win a lot or you got to be exciting. And Grant Dawson seems to be an exciting guy who wins a lot. He's just taking the slow road up. Mark Madsen at the time was a big win. He still is a big win. Beating Demir, who's only lost to, if he finishes him and Arman did it, like that's another story we have right there. Grant Dawson's going to be pushed based on finishing power and wins and losses. That's for sure, which I love. Yep. I love fighters like that.
Yeah, Ismagulov, 24 wins, just 2 losses. Only one of those losses by knockout, and that must have been friggin' years ago by now. So.
Are you sure he's lost to a stoppage?
I believe he has a stoppage loss on his resume.
I have it written on my notes that his only 2 losses were decision. But
hold on. Yes, let me. Hold on. Let me see. I'm looking at Wikipedia. Yeah. So let me check my other sources.
Demir has only been decision
twice. Not been knocked.
Demir's been to a decision twice. Ever?
He's only been.
I guess so. He's only lost to decision.
Yeah.
Well, that was just fake news on my. That was just fake news on my part, wasn't it?
So if
I tried to lie to America.
If Grant Dawson becomes the first man to finish Demir Ismagulov, that's obviously a big thing, and he'll be a top 12, top 10 lightweight. 100% he could. This dude
Grant
puts
Dawson
people away.
Is a predatory grappler. If he gets your back, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's like freakishly strong and has, obviously is known as a grappler, but he's definitely not by no means like a decision machine. It was 14 what am I looking at here? 14 submission wins? 13 submission. It'd be 14 if you manage to submit Demir, or 5 knockouts if you manage to, but 17 finishes, 19 wins. It's not bad. UFC likes that. UFC likes that. Jed, who's
good.
gonna win?
I'm taking Grant Dawson. I just love his game. Been a huge supporter of him for a while. And I think he has this sort of relentless grappling attack that can give Demir problems. Demir's a really good defensive wrestler, but Arman Sarukian basically beat him by just forcing the issue over and over again. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's something like Arman landed 7 takedowns, but he shot like 35 times or whatever. And Demir, that's a lot of winning from Demir, but Arman just kept doing it, and then he would get dominant positions, hold him down, control time. I think Grant Dawson can do almost exactly the same thing here. And Demir, it's tough. It is tough for Demir to fight a guy, be like, I'm retiring. That sucked. And now he's going to fight another dude who is maybe not the athlete that Arman Sarukian is, maybe not the explosive, quick twitch athlete, but I would argue is a better, more dangerous control grappler and can do a lot of the same things. It's frying pan to fire, man. Just real tough for him. And I like Grant Dawson to get it done.
Jose?
Yeah, I agree. I think after watching that Arman fight, Arman's kind of laid the blueprint out on how to, take advantage of not holes, but like he excels in fighting a very specific type of fighter, and Arman kind of used that against him. And I think Grant Dawson will take, especially ATT. ATT seems to be just like master game planners. So I think Grant Dawson gets it done, especially in 3 rounds. I don't know if it'll be a finish, but like Jed said, he's just a predatory guy, and I think Demir is going to be on the defense a lot. So he's going to have this is going to be one of those things where Grant Dawson will get more takedowns and just have more control time. I think he gets it done, and he's going to be top 12, top 10 lightweight after Saturday.
I just want to quickly read the odds here. Again, as I always say, never gamble on MMA, but if you must, please use DraftKings.sportsbook.com and use code the MMA Hour for a little bonus for yourself. It's essentially a pick'em. It looks like right now. I'm seeing -115 Ismagulov, -105 Grant Dawson. So slight edge to Ismagulov, but otherwise pretty even. At Topology, this may surprise you guys, 64% Ismagulov.
I think that's around converting around what the odds opened at. I can look it up, but
I'm a little surprised. I thought
Ismagulov was a favorite, before this week.
Really, like a note, like and Dawson was actually
not like an enormous one, but I got Dawson at plus money when I bet him. So Ismagulov was a favorite. I'm going to look up the line and see where it opened.
I'm a little surprised, but again, listen, Jose kind of alluded to it. Are we not giving Demir enough credit? Again, there was the retirement, sure, but that should factor in, like you said, Jed. When someone has one foot out the door, especially in a division that's this deep and this intense and this constantly competitive, is it that easy to kind of just step back in against another rising contender and score a win? I don't know. Either way, listen, it's not going to be easy for either guy. We can all. I'm going to go Grant Dawson finish as well, but I don't think anyone of us is predicting that Grant Dawson's just going to like run through him. That seems highly doubtful. But again, Topology right now they like Ismagulov to win. Most picks by decision, 84% Ismagulov by decision, 63% Dawson by decision. So yes, it's super intriguing, and I will say, I think a legitimate co-main event, because I do always say it helps if it includes ranked people, and one of them at least ranked for us, and both ranked by the UFC. So, sorry, Jed, what were you gonna say?
What did you say Topology's prediction was for Ismagulov?
64% in favor of Ismagulov. 84% of those picking Ismagulov saying by decision.
Ismagulov opened as a -160, which is like about 61 or 62%. So Topology's right on where the odds bet, and then the bettors came in, pushed it down.
There you go. Again, guys, this is a 12-fight card. There's actually a lot of intriguing names on here. So, Jose, listen, I think I was going to say pick one, but I'll just say pick as many fights as you want. Pick as many little angles as you want, or just names. Tell me what you're looking at here outside of the top 2 fights. I won't restrict you. No restrictions.
The easy answer that everyone's going to view is Kevin Lee kind of returning to the UFC, and he's on the prelims for whatever reason. I'm very interested to see how he looks, back. But but I'm also very, very interested, and I've brought his name up a lot in past preview shows, being like, when is this guy going to come back? Is Michael Morales. I am a very, very big fan of this young man. I know a lot of people, Ian Gary, Mike Malott. I'm not including Hamzat at welterweight anymore, but we have a lot of these welterweight prospects on the rise. And I think in a few years, this is going to be one of the premier divisions. It already is, but like the top of the division seems kind of stagnant right now, but there is a ton of fun young talent coming up. And Michael Morales is right there, undefeated. And I know at UFC 289, Mike Malott was like one of the big stars coming out of it, and he finished Adam Fugit. Mike Morales did that the last time Amanda Nunes fought on the undercard, TKO. I don't know. He's a guy I don't think he's ever been to a decision. If he has, it's single digit decisions. He is very much a predatory striker. He's a guy that will hurt you and then finish you on the canvas. Very fun young man to interview. He carries around a little Tony the Tiger figurine he got in a cereal box because he got it like the morning of his fight, and he brought it with him for good luck. And he won. So he just continues to bring this little Tony the Tiger figure with him to all of his media days and press conferences and stuff like that. So if I have to watch one fight, that's the one I'm looking at because I'm just such a big fan. And Max Griffin is a guy that I don't think gets enough credit for the amount. Like his resume is tough. Like has fought in Colby. His like obviously Michael Morales already beat him, but like he's fought in Colby. He's fought in all these high-level guys. Michael Morales goes out there and beats him in his UFC. I mean, what am I talking about? He beat Trevin Giles. You know what I'm talking. I get all these guys mixed up. But Michael Morales is the guy that I'm most excited for. He's the one that I have circled. I know Romanov is a fun guy. I know Ivanov is a fun guy. I know Yana Santos is a fun guy. But to me, it's the Michael Morales show on Saturday. I'm very high on this young man.
Yeah, this matchup is super intriguing. It's been almost a year since we saw Michael Morales fight. I think July 2022. So yeah, we're almost a year. Late July. So yes, we're going almost. But yes, it's been a while. And a blue chipper. I want to say he made our top 5 of Rookie of the Year, 2022 Rookie of the Year. I know I voted for him. I can't remember if he cracked the final voting, but yes, definitely one of the guys in the once again sort of rejuvenating 170-pound division to watch. Max Griffin. This will be his 15th UFC fight, and he's 13 years older than Michael Morales. So this is a classic experience versus talent matchup. I would like to know the odds for this one, frankly, as well. But I will say Max Griffin, the definition of a tough out. Tim Means, won split decision. Neil Magny, lost split decision. Alex Oliveira, lost split decision. I'm just looking at Thiago Alves, lost a split decision. He fought Cheeto Njokuani before the UFC to a split decision.
Colby.
He's got a lot of splits on his resume. Joaquin Spirit Wolf, the immortal Joaquin Spirit Wolf. He fought him to a split decision back in 2014. This guy goes the distance a lot, and his fights are always competitive. And yes, if Morales can knock him out, boy, that would be spectacular. It'd be only the second knockout loss of his career. So that would be something else. What are the odds here for this fight?
Morales is a pretty clear favorite. I don't remember offhand.
I would imagine.
I'm seeing minus 245 on DraftKings.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tapology people are saying 87%. Morales 64% picking a knockout win. So, hey, this is how you build up a prospect, though. With respect to Max Griffin, if Max Griffin gets the job done and stops him, awesome. That's Max Griffin is not there to be walked over. But if Michael Morales beats him, that's 3-0 in the UFC, and then he's going to find himself rocking it up those rankings pretty quickly. Jed, what do you got your eye on?
So I think that's probably the best fight that's not the co-main event this weekend, just because everything you guys said. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I got 2 others that I'm going to throw. I'll throw 2 others and to shout to one individual. Benoit Saint-Denis, Ishmael Bonfim. Love that matchup. Well, one, if you just pick a lightweight fight, it's probably going to be sick because that's just how lightweight rolls. Ishmael Bonfim coming off one of the best knockouts of the year over Terrence McKinney. The Bonfim brothers just taking the UFC by storm. And BSD is a good fighter. Like, had a little bit of heat on him. He lost to somebody, Elizeu dos Santos, maybe. He lost to somebody. I don't remember who. It's kind of dulled him a little bit, but a damn good fighter. And this is just a really good matchup. I want to see if Bonfim can kind of continue to deliver on this hype that he and his brother are building. So that one is for sure a fight that I'm interested in. I want to see Bruno Ferreira just because he knocked out RoboCop, and I kind of didn't think that was possible. And he did it with relative ease. So I want to see what else this guy can knock out. It's probably going to be Nursultan Rubiev, but if it's not, then that'll be cool. So I just want to see that. Then the other one, it's not a fight because the fight's probably going to suck. But personally, I am very excited to watch Guram Kutateladze back in the cage because guy came into the UFC not super heralded, but immediately beats Mateusz Gamrot, who I was very high on at the time.
On short notice.
On short notice, and then he loses a very close fight with Damir Smagulov, and he hasn't fought. He's fought like twice, I think, just in the UFC. It's those two in the last 3 years. Has not been able to be competing despite clearly having a lot of talent. I mean, dude's an unbelievable kicker. I forget who did it. Somebody had a Twitter thread the other day talking about his kicks, and dude, is fantastic. Shouts to you. I'm just excited to watch him. Yes, Elvis Brenner is not, the opponent we would hope for in this situation, but I just want to see him back. I want to see if he can continue to add to the lightweight throng of just unbelievably good fighters. So those are the highlights for me. And of course, I mean the opener, Alexander Romanov versus Grigor Ivanov, that guarantees to be a banger. Just a banger.
Romanov, I tell you, as of last year, we had him up in our heavyweight, the heavyweight division is back. I think we did at least one podcast,
Hand up.
Ranking show.
Hand up.
Uh-huh.
I may have gotten too excited about him.
Listen, my hands up too. I liked from what I saw from Romanov. His last two performances, not great. Great. You just saw
I also remember watching from the outside as people on our, voting panel argued whether we can vote for people based on potential or wins and losses. And the genesis of that was Alex Romanov. I was like,
He was up pretty high on some panels.
He had a lot of potential, right?
He still does.
We just didn't know that Jailton Almeida was coming. We were very excited about a heavyweight who would actually grapple. And it turns out Romanov was not the prince that was promised. It was Jailton Almeida. And Romanov was more a Stannis Baratheon kind of guy,
Yeah.
Just falls short in the woods.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one note about Kutateladze. Jed, you're correct. 1-1 in the UFC. Stepping out on short notice again for this fight, Jordan Levitt. This was supposed to be Jordan Levitt versus Elvis Brenner. So a couple of weeks at short notice. And yes, he has only fought. This is only his second fight since October 2020. Stuff is a bit of trouble getting into that cage, but yeah, it's tough. All right. Producer Casey, I think we can go to the questions. Producer Casey, where are you, sir? Where are you, Producer Casey? Where is he?
I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at
look at your screen. Look at right.
I also watch. I also monitor.
Looking around. Where are you?
I'm also monitoring the YouTube thing, so sometimes I get confused. I'm looking at YouTube.
Did you even put a poll up?
No poll.
Wow.
Pollless. I'm hosting. I can't host.
I can't do
poll.
two things. What was your? Come on, put a poll up. All right.
I'm not sure what you would even poll here, but
here's what you can.
Yeah,
here's why Michael Morales is going to win, because he has, and I'm going to list them all off, all of the stereotypical MMA tattoos on his body. He has all of them. He has a literal. He has a lion with a gladiator's helmet on.
Love it.
He has a rose. He has a rose. He has a rose on the top of his fist.
Sick.
He has a palm tree on his arm. He has the year he was born on his knuckles. He has an eyeball inside of his sun. He has what appears to be like a beehive type of geometric tattoo on his shoulder. And then, of course, he has a throat tattoo that's a lotus leaf. Like, just everything I love about silly tattoos, he has them all.
I'm not hearing
no barbed wire.
I'm not hearing a chain link fence or his own name tattooed.
Well, here's the thing. That was a previous generation. This is the new generation. Where
okay.
Okay. tips the bar even more. He has the word honor tattooed on his bicep. Come on, guys. Like he's gonna.
Is it in kanji?
How else would you know that he cares so much about honor?
It's actually written as if it was written in blood, Casey. So.
Whoa.
He really cares about honor.
He has a feather on his chest. Like, for some
Why
reason,
does
he
he
has the
have-
number 22 on his throat. Like, I'm all about it. I'm all about
Wait,
it.
I think 22 is because
the
that's the year he got his UFC win.
Okay.
love
His
it.
U-
I
his
love
UFC
everything about it.
debut. Looking at Alex Bayunan's Twitter. Wow. Okay.
I love everything about these silly tattoos. They make me smile.
Every tattoo is silly.
Casey, do
They
we have
are.
a question?
They are.
The world
No,
is
no.
silly.
The world is silly.
MMA is silly, especially trying to pick fights.
MMA is certainly silly.
I'm just here for the lion wearing the gladiator helmet. Like,
I mean,
that's
that-
just aces right there.
Honestly,
Riding
that
a
is-
pit bull into battle.
That's actually a
No,
fantastic.
Well, see,
tattoo.
the problem is, Casey, the pit bull is inside him, so he can't have it on his body too.
Don't start. Casey, questions, please.
No.
What do we got? Put a question on the screen
No.
now.
No.
Now.
All right. Let's start with one of the best curtain jerkers of UFC fight nights in recent history. Oh, Jesus, gigantic.
Oh my gosh, what's up, Toke?
Jeez Louise.
He was on the panel there for a second.
Yeah. Welcome.
Toke or Aries Vetter on YouTube. After Romanov gassed last time, he is now the early prelim opener against a man that can't be finished. Are the UFC done with the Romanov experiment? Is that true? Ivanov never been finished? Is this true?
He's gotten.
I
I
don't-
don't know if you're aware,
No,
but he got
Volkov
stabbed in his
finished.
back.
Oh, sorry.
Ivanov has been finished one time in 25 pro
It
bouts.
was
So
in
pretty
It
tough.
was in Bellator.
Yeah,
Okay.
not
By
even
who?
Derek
By who?
Lewis could put him away.
Alexander Romanov for the heavyweight title, baby.
Wait,
Romanov.
what? Alexander Volkov.
Oh, Volkov. Sorry, did I say Romanov?
Yeah.
There's a lot of Alexanders.
That's not bad. Listen, that's not bad. Getting finished.
Oh,
by
so
Alexander
Volkov
is
has
not bad.
finished both of these gentlemen then. Interesting.
He has finished both. That's right. These are
Volkov
he's,
is
he's
very
beyond
Volkov
these two.
very good at MMA.
He
Yeah,
really
see-
is.
Okay, there's a lot of
Extremely
hate on
underrated.
Romanov and a lot of like, oh, I can't believe I ranked him so high. But he lost to Volkov. I mean, yeah, the Jabeur fight sucked. I think that was at altitude. Heavyweights at altitude are just a horrible idea. Very
Some people think there should have been a
entertaining.
draw. Some people think
Very
there should have been a 10-8 in there.
It
There
ac-
should have been a
that
draw.
actually definitely should have been a draw. It's
So-
not that he lost to Volkov. It's the manner in which it happened, Casey.
He had a
It
bad
was
night.
pretty bad.
He had a
That was
bad
bad.
night. He had a
Yeah.
bad night.
It was
Yeah.
pretty bad.
He's 32 years old, which heavyweight is like being 22. I still think there's a lot of skill, but well, the better question is this I know it's so cliche, is this a must win? I'm not saying he gets released if he loses. I think they could squeeze one more. I don't know what his contract. Let's put it this way: if this is the last fight in his contract, clearly, if he loses, they're not going to re-sign him. If it's not, he's going to get another shot. But I wonder. I mean, you can't go any lower on the card than the opener. But I wonder if they queue him up for another prospect. That's when you know that it's done. That's what I think. I don't know if you guys.
Who
think
is his best win?
Romanov?
Did he fight Parker Porter?
No.
I mean,
Juan
no.
is-
His,
Pizao.
yeah. I'd say his best one is Pizao.
And
Which
that was a while
isn't-
ago now. That was
great.
almost 3 years ago now. 2.5 years ago.
I mean, I don't know. Do you
who's
still
Pizao?
believe in Jared Vanderop?
Marcus
Marcus Rogerio
Rogerio
de
de
No.
Lima?
Jared
I
Vander's
was
not
gonna-
even
I was
in the
gonna say Juan
UFC anymore.
Espino. I thought that was his best win, but
He didn't win that. He got kneed in the junk.
That was
and
a weird-
It was like a DQ win. He was losing.
yeah, well, that's still a great win.
No, wasn't,
should have run
it
that
wasn't
back.
DQ. It was a
Oh,
technical
it was like a
split.
technical decision. Yeah.
the fight
yeah,
was
yeah,
stopped.
yeah.
The fight was just stopped.
It is.
then.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It
But
is a
like
win.
it was,
Technical split.
yeah. Like
Anyway, I think, like I said, I say they're done when we see a match up with another prospect and not a wizened veteran like Ivanov. I don't know if you guys agree. What's the sign for you guys that they're done? Excuse me, that they'll be done with them, or just
Well, being in
it'll
the
be
very
when-
first fight of a fight night isn't.
You
a
think
great
so
sign.
you think he's already kids? You think that they have jumped off?
I think the UFC has jumped off. I wish they had. I hope they haven't. And Romanov will prove them wrong tomorrow.
He could. Jed,
Although Ivanov is a very tough fight. It's hard to look good against Ivanov.
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 I mean, if Blagoy Ivanov finishes Alexander Romanov, that is a bad sign considering he's a heavyweight that has never finished someone in the UFC. So that's probably a bad sign. If Ivanov finishes Alexander Romanov, probably jumping off the train.
Jed, I think you ranked Romanov higher than anyone ever.
Oh, I definitely did.
At his peak, when we were all in peak Romanov fever. What do you think? But you agree that he needs this bad.
Oh, if he loses this one, I wouldn't be shocked if they cut him. He's got to get it, even though he's young.
Is he too expensive? Why would they cut him? They have Chase Sherman. They kept Chase Sherman around. He beat Chase Sherman.
Because there's some money thing. There's some 7-2. There's some 7-2 heavyweight that's going to be on the Contender Series soon. Is ready to take that spot, Casey. Ready to take that thing, I guess.
I guess maybe Casey makes a point. Maybe they don't cut him. It also sort of depends. His fight against Volkov was just so bad that I sort of feel like if he loses, it looks bad again. And you're just like, man, let's just kick rocks on this dude. Maybe he gets another shot, but I will cut him emotionally out of my life if he loses.
Wow, that's the harshest of all. I didn't want to go there.
That was harsh.
Like,
wow.
What hurts most of all. Forget the rankings or the UFC.
Hurt the most.
Casey, what do we got? What else we got?
All right.
Also, shouts to him. He apparently won the Grappling World Championships senior gold medal.
When?
Which isn't like a real thing, 2022.
Who did? Romanov?
Yeah. I'm looking at his Instagram right now.
Cool. Joseph Boza wants to know, is this main event a desperate move to get fresh challenge for Izzy? I don't remember a debutant in the UFC getting a highly ranked opponent in their sophomore outing. Jose shaking his head aggressively. Jose, take it away.
You're acting like the UFC has a plan. Like that's the problem. So no, this is not a desperate plan because there is no plan. This is Sean Strickland was on record saying the UFC offered him 3 other fights before this, and they all turned him down. And Sean Strickland, as he said, whether you hate him or love him, I don't really care. The dude is a prize fighter and is like, I like money. I'll fight the first guy that says yes. So that is what happened. I think they just ran down a list of people. 3 of them said no. This Abu said yes, and that's.
You believe Sean Strickland? You believe Sean Strickland?
I don't believe anything in MMA in anything anyone says, but I believe Sean Strickland more than the UFC right now. As I am more inclined to believe Sean Strickland than I am to believe that the UFC has a plan in 2023 because they're making DDP versus Robert Whittaker. They mean Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. None of those fights made sense. So this is right up there. I think both of these individuals just said yes and they ran with it.
Casey, let's be clear. I absolutely believe Sean Strickland. Does anything about Sean Strickland give off the vibes of a man who's lying with purpose? I don't take the things he says about anything as a gospel by which to lead my life, but I think he's speaking his truth every time out there. He's not.
I'll go.
He's not telling a fabrication.
He's speaking his truth. It may not be the truth, but it's something he heard. He did his own research, and he's going to say it out loud.
He looked into it. He looked into it.
I'm just asking questions.
I don't think Sean Strickland's doing the Henry Cejudo, man, this guy is a coward. He won't do it. Or all these people are ducking me because I want to build myself up. He's saying what he believes to be the correct answer. And that's good enough for me in this regard.
Point to Jose. They don't have a plan. I would love to believe all these UFC fight nights that we're getting that there's some grand picture. Listen, we're getting Holly Holm and Amanda Bueno Silva in a few weeks, and I don't think there's any reason for it other than Holly Holm as a name, and they need a main event for a fight night card. So, though again, for me, that's the unofficial.
That's the unofficial plan.
That's the unofficial bantam. By the way, that's the unofficial new bantamweight champion. I'm just saying that UFC can say whatever they want. That'll be my number one ranked bantamweight when the next
But back
round
to this question: is this fight? I know we talked. The UFC doesn't have a plan. Is this fight for Strickland to look good, or is it to actually have another hopeful title contender for?
Again,
Izzy
I'm kind of with Jose. Jose, do you want to go
fight
again?
is I don't quota, baby.
I think we as a collective hive mind are looking way too much into this fight. I think this is a fight where 2 men just said, yup. And that's that. I think they just needed a main event.
Yeah, you
Like
guys
Sean
are
Strickland is
there's
not a guy
plan.
that seems to like there have like obviously in the like I'm not saying they never have a plan because when they matched up Sean Strickland with Alex Pereira, that was very clearly thought and planned out. I don't think this is the
Pay-per-views
case
seem
for
to have
this one.
plans. Fight
That's what
nights
I'm saying.
don't. Yeah.
That I
No.
agree because like Sean
That's fun.
Jose, we'll get you back in a second. Sorry, internet,
Look,
everyone, internet.
There's
We
a plan
remixed
here,
Jose. We
and
remixed him.
the plan is very simple. They owe ESPN 42 events a year.
Yeah,
Line them
it's-
up, knock them down,
Yeah.
cash that $300 million check, baby.
We don't mean
Keep
to sound.
on keeping on.
We
This
don't mean
gets
to
so-
sound cynical. This is the truth.
I know, yeah, I understand. It's like it just gets really almost boring talking about these matchups when really the truth is like, we just had a quota to fill, so you guys can make up your own logic how we came up with it. You know, I guess.
Dude, it's fine. Look, if Abe comes here and does some cool shit, then like, all right, well, randomly we've stumbled on somebody that we can at least give a push
That's what I
to
mean.
and see,
They can just make up.
see what happens.
Yeah,
But yeah,
this is for any fight, basically. Yeah. Whoa.
They did not come into this with the plan of, all right, we see something in Abe, let's go. This is just got to fill a quota. These two dudes are fighting, and that's fine. Like, I'm not here to knock anybody on this. It's just that absolutely brings down my anticipation when the stakes are not for anything super substantive.
Okay, because when this fight was made, I was like, am I missing something? And like, was Abe like this giant prospect, and like he was this Bo Nickel guy type of prospect, and like did I just miss it?
But he did look good. He did look good in his debut. So
He did. They can run that
YOLO.
19-second knockout 50 times in the lead up to the fight. There you go. Right. This guy's a destroyer. He set. I think it was the. I want to say it was the record for a middleweight debut.
I will say I'm pretty excited to, and I never say these words. I'm pretty excited to listen to commentary on the main event to see what bill of goods they're selling us for about Abe. Like,
that is, yeah, I know what you mean.
it is going to be
funny.
so much fun to watch
Listen.
Daniel Cormier, who has only watched a 19
won't be
seconds
hard.
of this man, then try and talk about his game.
Unbeaten in 11 of his last 12. That's all you gotta say. Unbeaten in 11 of his last 12. Again, fight finisher, 20 finishes. It's not hard to say. It's not hard to say.
And I noticed
Jose's back.
Against Louis
back.
Taylor. Louis Taylor retired after he knocked him out. He's like, I'm done.
Taylor's a good. No, he didn't retire. Louis Taylor.
Well, he
won
didn't
back
he didn't
to-
get cleared for the next
yeah,
season of
for the next
PFL.
season.
But he hasn't fought since forever.
I think he was kind of forced to. I think he didn't get cleared, and then he's just never fought again. I don't think he's
'Cause
going
he
to
was-
announced his retirement.
Fortunately, he won $1 million, so he's
Yeah,
gone.
he's not like a super young guy. Like if I remember when he
No.
won, I think he was pretty up there in real life age. I could be pretty wrong. JN wants to know: does the UFC hate Kevin Lee? Tough opponent to return to, fighting on the prelims of a weak Apex card. A little, it is a little confusing. We will say, it's the phrasing. The question is so strong. And I was gonna make a case for like featured people know I
Don't ever say
often
that.
argue
That's
like,
not a
featured
thing.
prelim, it's a good spot to be. Except this entire card's on ESPN Plus. There's no like changing the channel. There's no like, oh, after you watch this fight, head on over to ABC or head on over to wherever. So like this will transition you over to the main card. Like it's all the card is just going to be one block of and maybe that's why they don't care where he is. But there's a lot of ways to look at it. Jed, what do you think they hate Kevin Lee?
Oh no. I have you guys frankly will probably know more about this than I do because I don't particularly haven't been paying attention to this, but based on everything I know of Kevin Lee, my assumption here is that this is a Kevin Lee call. Kevin was like, give me the hardest fight you can, because say what you want. And there are many bad things to say about Kevin Lee, the fist fighter. The man does not shy away from a challenge in any regard, to his detriment over the course of his career, frankly. But he always believes that this next one, I'm going to show you guys. And so it needs to be against the biggest opportunity, the biggest name possible. And that has cost him dearly lately. But I would assume that he was like, whoever, I know you're not going to give me a top 15 guy because it wouldn't make sense, but the best dude you can get me, the best guy you can, give me that. And so that's how we get Renat. And probably not going to go well for him, but you reap what you sow.
Yeah, opponent wise, I don't think he had any issue with it. The placement's another question, but yeah, if he beats Renat again, Renat 22-2, 2-0 in the UFC so far. Guy hasn't lost since in 9 years. He hasn't lost a fight in 9 years. 16 fight win streak. Kevin Lee,
Oh,
come in, take that away.
and
right
this is
away.
at 172. So
Yes,
is Kevin Lee
which is good.
permanently welterweight now? Is that did he say
Yeah,
that?
I hope so.
I think he has. I will also say for the placement thing, this feels right. Like I know Kevin Lee is a name, but when you actually look at where he's at in his career, the main event's the main event. The co-main event is amazing. Griffin Morales, we already talked a lot about. I mean, Bonfim and Fajeda are both far more exciting prospects than whatever Kevin Lee is at this stage. They should be getting better placement than him. So I don't think this is them hating. I think this is actually just a very, very reasonable place to put him on this card.
Jose, you kind of mentioned before, you're not super concerned about the card placement, so just no doesn't matter to you. You don't think this says anything about how they view him coming back?
I think maybe if anything, that like not sticking him on like a numbered event, I think is more of a message than the placement of this card specifically. Because I know he lost to Daniel Rodriguez and then left the UFC, but he was supposed to fight Sean Brady. I think that was supposed to be International Fight Week last year, or as he was supposed to be on a big card, but then I think Sean Brady got hurt or sick or something, so they like moved stuff, and then so I think that was the point where Kevin Lee went from fighting on a big card to then fighting on an Apex. So I think the fact that he's coming back to another Apex card says more than the replacement of this card specifically. But I am surprised by this matchup because obviously you guys all remember it, so I don't have to like go into it. But Kevin Lee, you can go read the article on MMA Fighting because I remember this. I remember
Great
having
website.
to transcribe this. Kevin Lee was like, I think his phrasing was like, he was super jealous of Sean O'Malley's career because he's fighting like the easiest guys for the like at that point in his career, or like he was jealous of Sean O'Malley's rise because he didn't take these fights that were super difficult. And I remember Kevin Lee being like, "Why did I fight Charles Oliveira in Brazil? That was Sil. That was Sil. That was Sil. That was Sil. That
Remix.
Oh, we got the remix again.
Dude, this is sick.
He's having some power problems. Tom Selleck in the comments earlier said he sounded like Max Headroom. There's a reference for what 12 of our viewers might get, but yes. As Jose was saying, yes, Kevin Lee, you can kind of understand. He just said, okay, he just messaged, Jose just messaged, his power keeps flickering. So I assume he'll come back. We'll wrap soon. Don't worry. Yeah, listen, if you're Kevin Lee, if you look at his resume, it's strong, man. His when he was competing at lightweight, boy, there's a lot of big names on there. On one hand, he did get to compete for interim lightweight titles, so it's not as if he wasn't eventually recognized for his efforts. On the other hand, if you're him, you have a lot of questions about how much was he getting, how much was he making for those fights as he was coming up. I'm sure he enjoyed that one fight for Eagle FC. I bet he was very handsomely compensated for it. And now he just kind of finds himself back at the best game in town as that he can get with, because there is no Eagle FC anymore. So and I love that he asked this week, why are we still fighting the Apex? What's going on? He's just a guy. He's come back from like I said, he hasn't fought in the UFC in well over a year, and instead of coming back to a crowd that might appreciate his return, he's coming back to the empty halls of the UFC Apex. So it's a little bit of a bummer. Jose, sorry, you're back. Did you want to finish your thought there? I kind of tried to finish it for you. You're also now muted.
power could go off at any point
Yes.
right now.
It's exciting.
In and out all day.
It's exciting. Don't worry, we'll do a couple more.
This is
questions.
what happens when there's a fire in Scottsdale that they can't control.
All right, Casey, let's go to the next question then. We'll do a couple
next
more.
question.
This one more.
Also, Kevin Lee should have fought Tony Ferguson. That was what I was going to say.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. Forrest Daniels wants to know. This is a no bets barred question really. José Youngs, Jed Meshew, AK. What is your underdog pick for this card? Talking live dogs. Jed, lead us off.
Let me pull up the odds because I had like 2 bets this week. I mean, I got Grant Dawson on underdog odds, and technically he is an underdog. But
is Kevin Lee the underdog? He's a big underdog, right?
Kevin Lee is definitely the underdog. I would not touch him with money.
Oh wow.
If he wins, great. It will not feel good to bet on Kevin Lee to not do something bad because that's who he's been. Max Griffin is probably at least a little bit of a live dog at plus 200, 205 for the reasons aforementioned, even though I think Michael Morales is going to win. I don't know. Yana Santos is probably going to lose to Kohosa, but that fight could be awful. So, and Blago Ivanov is probably a live dog against Alexander Romanov, given what we've seen from Romanov lately. So,
Jose,
it's a tough week to bet. It's a tough week to bet, y'all.
Underdogs you have an eye on?
I don't. Max Griffin. I mean, he's only lost to really high level guys. So I think if Michael Morales just isn't ready for this level of competition, then probably Max is 100% a live dog.
Very live.
I don't know. Ariane Lipski can kind of win whenever she wants. So
yeah, plus
those two probably. I'm just saying those because like Jed's obviously took the more obvious ones.
Right.
Probably Max and Ariane Lipski.
Let me just say, I don't believe in non-title fight. I rarely, unless Johnson Almeida is involved, I hate seeing like non-title fights where someone's anything more than like a plus 500, plus 6. I just think it's crazy. I mean, especially in Bellator, but even at the UFC. Well, the UFC you rarely see it, which is why this Joe Anderson Brito Weston Wilson line is jumping out at me. It looks like Brito's minus 1250, Weston Wilson plus 800. If you've seen Brito fight, you understand why he finishes people in impressive fashion, both his UFC wins, first round finishes. Weston Wilson, not a great record, has been finished many times, really just stepping in on short notice. The odds make sense, but I will say, if I was someone who only spent like whatever, $5 to splash here or there on the card, throw $5 for Weston Wilson. Not that you should. Don't bet on MMA. But I love the idea. And this probably doesn't answer the question, though, because he's certainly, I would not describe him as a live dog. He's really just a shot in the dark long shot. So what can I say? But plus 800? Come on. That seems a little disrespectful, doesn't it?
What's the line on the actual main event?
Oh.
It's like minus 155 to plus 135. Something
yeah,
like that.
it's not that big.
Strickland slightly favored. Avis slight underdog.
Okay, I won't even.
Let's go one more. Last one, Casey. What do we got?
Oh, one more? All right. One more. Ooh. That's a betting question.
It's always hard to fight. It's always hard to go on a banger.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Strickland anymore. I'm done.
It's always hard to go on a banger.
I don't know. Did you see any questions in the comments? I didn't really.
I've seen a lot of who is Max Headroom, which again, I really don't have the time to get into that.
Google it.
Jose, you know who Max Headroom is, right?
Who?
Max Headroom.
Oh, that dude that showed up on like the TV.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's like kind of say like that could describe a lot of people, but no, that is like an accurate description of.
But
Max
someone
Headroom.
like hacked the TV station and like put his head
Correct.
up there, right?
Was it did he do Coca-Cola commercials too?
He became an ad man. Yes, the character became an ad man later. Hold on. Look, I'm scanning up. Casey, I'm scanning up. And we can always just wrap the show, but I do feel like we need to get one more question. People, this is your chance. Ask us anything. Obviously, be respectful. I think we might just have to wrap it. What do you got? Oh, of course. Oh, we haven't answered this in a while.
We got Jose here.
I don't even want to answer this for Strickland. Ice King wants to know if Sean Strickland were to install an ice cream can in his arm, which flavor of the tasty frozen treat would he load the dairy launcher with? Listen, the guy probably thinks ice cream is woke or something, or I don't know. It's not manly enough.
I don't know. You gotta get a woman to scoop the ice cream. That's exactly. Yeah.
Just terrible. He's a terrible.
I don't know. It's a cannon, guys. I feel like he'd be
Second
pretty
Amendment,
into
baby.
a cannon.
Second Amendment. Yeah.
He'd probably say
that he would support.
Yeah.
Calcium, having strong bones is for weaklings. I'm just like, yup, that makes sense, Sean Strickland.
This is a great question. I'm trying to think what Sean Strickland's favorite ice cream would be.
It's a good question. I don't know why it just doesn't.
Probably chocolate. I bet he's a chocolate guy.
He's just a chocolate guy.
Just boring. Just chocolate.
Well, I'll just say, listen, we're
Rocky Road.
We're all picking Sean Strickland to win the main event, as you guys may have seen earlier. But also, I will say, gosh, I hope the guy gets nowhere near a title shot, even though we know Israel Adesanya is totally down for it. So
why not? I'd watch him fight for a title. It'd be funny.
We're disregarding this card, but this, it could be answered to a trivia question.
All right, so it's
Sean Strickland win after a title shot.
I just, for no reason, other than I am curious if he tweeted anything ever about ice cream.
Oh,
I
please.
searched Sean Strickland and ice cream.
Mhm.
He's not eating ice cream. I assure you. I'm not going to read the tweet, but yeah, he doesn't eat ice cream.
Well,
Oh wow. I now
let-
have to know this.
I'm not going to look it up, but people,
I'll tell you
know how to
guys
use the
later. I'll
Twitter.
tell you guys off air.
You know how to use the Twitter. Jose said if you want, you can do at whatever he is on Twitter, at Strickland or Sean Strickland, and check his if he's mentioned ice cream. Apparently he has. And apparently,
And for those of you that are going to be like, "Oh, he probably said it a long time ago." Nope, said it 2
Oh
months
my
ago.
god. Oh my god, I found it.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, this has been the UFC Vegas 76
Really? Oh,
preview show.
This
This has been the UFC Vegas 76
Man
preview
just
show.
needs a hug.
Thank you.
Man just needs a hug.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you've got free time on Saturday, by all means, I'd say check it out. Otherwise, first of all, happy Canada Day on Saturday to my people,
Friends.
many of whom probably will not be spending it watching UFC Vegas 76.
Band-Aids.
And happy July 4th weekend as well. I'm not sure when you guess will see us on air again. I mean, obviously preview show, but I don't know what the holiday schedule looks like.
They're playing you off, AK.
Thank God. Thank God there. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Jed. Thank you, Casey. And again, happy Canada Day. Happy July 4th weekend to everybody. Take care and enjoy
Soap.
the MMA.
Guys, soap is a bad
I'll look
thing.
this up. I don't want to know.
Sneakers.
Love
Hey,
y'all.
guys.
Happy
don't wanna
birthday, AK.
Happy birthday to you.